With each passing day, the next Animal Crossing game gets closer and closer. It's hard to believe, but the last installment in the series, Animal Crossing New Horizons, released more than 5 years ago, which means we probably don't have to wait too much longer for the next game in the franchise. I believe it's very likely to be a 2026 title, and personally, I cannot wait. I've been thinking a lot about this game and how I want it to look, and while I do have a pretty long wish list for it at this point, today I want to focus on one feature in particular. Because there's one concept from the franchise's past that we haven't seen in quite a while that I think would be the perfect fit for the next installment in the series. And in this video, I want to explain why. Let's get into it. So in order to explain what feature I'm talking about, we need to go back to one of the more overlooked entries in the Animal Crossing series. Animal Crossing City Folk. This game released in November of 2008 on the Nintendo Wii, and for whatever reason, it didn't seem to make as much of a splash as most of the other games in the franchise did. Personally, my hype for this game was at an all-time high prior to its release. I was obsessed with the previous game in the series, Animal Crossing Wild World. Me and my sister would play this game for hours and hours on end, and to this day, I think that it might be one of my most played video games of all time. Maybe even the most played game of all time. I was obsessed with Wild World, but for whatever reason, City Folk didn't really hit the same way for me. If Wild World was my most played game in the Animal Crossing series, then City Folk is probably the least. I think a big part of this was moving to a home console kind of really hurt the game. So much of the appeal of the Animal Crossing franchise is being able to take it on the go with you, to be able to play it when you're on the couch watching TV in the background or on the bus or at a friend's house. And losing that going from Wild World to City Folk really hurt the game and, for me, hampered the longevity that it had. It also didn't seem to innovate too much, didn't really bring much new to the Animal Crossing formula. However, it did introduce the titular mechanic, the city. And that's what I want to talk about today. The city in City Folk was a pretty cool idea on paper. You still had your town where you spent most of your time, but then you were also able to go out to this central city area where you could visit all these bustling shops and see other villagers walking around and get access to all sorts of things that you didn't have access to in your main village. Now this was awesome in concept, but the execution was a bit lacking. It's been a long time since I've played City Folk, but I remember never spending that much time in the city. I remember going to the city a few times when I first started playing, and I enjoyed it at first. It was really cool to have such a new area and concept to explore in Animal Crossing coming from Wild World, but it didn't really stick with me. And after a while, I kind of just went there as part of my daily routine in the game, and it didn't leave much of a lasting impression on me. It really wasn't that big in scope, and while there were some cool shops there that you could visit and some different NPCs and that sort of thing, it wore off pretty quickly. And it started to become pretty apparent that it was a rather shallow mechanic. However, I think bringing this sort of concept back, bringing back a city of some sort, is the perfect step for the next game in the Animal Crossing series. We might not have had the technology in 2008 on the Nintendo Wii to really make this idea as great as it could have been, but I think we have everything we need now for this to be a really revolutionary step in the Animal Crossing franchise. Now, this next game that I'm envisioning in the series, of course, you would still have your main village or your main island or whatever direction they want to go, and you would still be able to customize this area to your heart's content. You could completely change the landscape and the layout in your house and villagers' houses, and everything that we got in New Horizons would be here, but then you would also have this central city area. And this city area would in many ways be the live service hub of the game. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear that. They don't like to hear live service and Animal Crossing in the same sentence. And I get that, I do. But hear me out. This area could be a bustling area for Nintendo to change and customize as the game's lifespan goes on. It would obviously change with the seasons, like we're accustomed to in any Animal Crossing game. You would have different decorations in fall and winter, and seasonal items and shops would pop up and that sort of thing. But then Nintendo could also customize it and change it to be in correspondence with their first-party games. So when we get the next big 3D Mario game, maybe there's a Mario pop-up shop, or maybe one of the main shops in the city is filled with all sorts of exclusive Mario merchandise and clothing and that sort of thing. It would essentially act as kind of a video game commercial for these games, but it would also offer a really cool way for players to interact with other Nintendo IPs and to have all sorts of exclusive items tied to those games. I think one of the coolest things about Animal Crossing New Leaf was all of the Nintendo tie-ins it did. I remember my house had an R-Wing and the Master Sword in it, and I would walk around my town dressed as Link, and I loved all that. I loved having the Nintendo flavor in Animal Crossing, and we kind of went away from that in New Horizons. There was, of course, Mario Day tie-ins and that sort of thing, but nothing on the scale of New Leaf. This, however, could be the perfect opportunity to bring that sort of thing back. And having a central city area where all of these things lived, I think is the perfect route to go with this sort of concept. In addition to that, though, the area in general could act as an online community of sorts. Now, this might be too ambitious, but I think the ideal way to handle this would be that this area, this hub, would be a constantly online place where you would walk around and you would see other players from their games visiting it at the same time, and you could interact with them, maybe trade with them, maybe express yourself with emojis to them, that sort of thing. But I think that making this feel like an actually huge, bustling city would be awesome. And while NPC villagers can kind of help work towards that illusion, I think that this area actually being bustling with players from their own games and actual real people walking around, visiting the shops, going about their business, I think that that would just be a huge step in a new revolutionary direction for the Animal Crossing series. Is it ambitious? Yeah, but I think that it's doable. Obviously, a big driving point of the Switch 2 is its online features. Right now, there's game chat and game share, and while Nintendo is always going to be a little bit behind its competitors when it comes to online features and communities, they do seem to be wanting to put more of an emphasis on that here in the Switch 2 generation. And I think a component of an always online city like this in Animal Crossing would be the perfect way to really drive that initiative home. The city back in 2008 on the Nintendo Wii was never able to feel as big and bustling as it should. It never really felt like a city. It felt like a small gathering of a couple of additional shops. But now, with the online features that we have, as well as the power and the hardware of the Switch 2, I think now it's the perfect time to dust off this old feature, bring it back into the limelight, and just make it big and better than ever. And we can finally get that city that we really wanted back in 2008 that was never really able to live up to its potential. New Horizons is such a big game, and it pushed the Animal Crossing franchise in a bold new direction, and it made the game and the series bigger than ever. So it's really hard to kind of envision where they go from here without taking a big swing like what I'm proposing today. I know that a lot of Animal Crossing fans today either didn't play or don't remember City Folk, and I don't blame you at all. I really don't. But I think that City Folk, ironically, might have laid the template for the best path forward for the series at this point. Bring back the city, make it a live, bustling online hub, and I think the Animal Crossing franchise would really thrive. That's my idea. Obviously not super fleshed out, but I really do think that there's something there. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think that there's any merit to this idea? Do you think we need to bring back some sort of city component in the next Animal Crossing? Or do you have a different idea for the future of the Animal Crossing franchise? So let me know what you think. And once again, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching the video. And I will see you guys on the next one.